All right, let's go ahead and get started. There's three main points I want to cover in this video. One is the overall look and feel of these devices, the aesthetics, how they are to use, all that good stuff. The other is we're going to do an audio comparison. We'll cover all the different situations of using these devices and you can hear them. And I think you're going to find that they sound very similar. There are some differences. We'll talk about it. And we're going to do a range test, and we'll also come back and do some questions like, if you have the DJI mics, should you upgrade to the Rodes? So we're going to tackle all that in this video. Let's go ahead and get started with just taking a look at the devices. So when you first get the DJI mics, you're going to get everything seen here on the screen. All right, so you're going to get two dead cats, the receiver cable, your USB cables. You're also going to get some adapters included in here, which aren't in that picture, that let you attach to your phone and all that good stuff. And now let's go ahead and put a picture of everything you get with the Rodes. You get a bunch of stuff. You get two of the lav mics, the lav 2s, which are really nice. They have a Kevlar coating cable, so they're going to be able to withstand a lot of abuse. You get 5 of the dead cats, which is nuts. You get all the different cables. There's no quick adapters for your phone. For hooking them up that way, you have to use a USB-C cable, but nonetheless, you get all this stuff that you see. So on the Rodes setup, you get all the devices in one of these carrying cases, then you get all the accessories in the other that you saw in the picture. Let's go ahead and take a look at these devices real quick. I'm wearing one of each of them right now, so you'll see some text on your screen just showing where the audio is coming from. First and foremost, when you first just open them up and stuff, I like the presentation of the DJI better because you get a readout of the storage available, you get your battery status indicators, you get your connection info, and you have your case battery charge all presented to you at the same time the second you open up the case. When you open up the Rode, you're just going to unzip it here, and you're not going to see anything except on the side. When you first put the receiver in, you'll see this. I'll put it up on the screen. Gives you a little bit of a charging status indicator, but that's about it. That's all there is on the Rode side. I also noticed on the Rodes too, I'm going to put this picture up on the screen. It looks like the devices sit in the case a little bit crooked. You see how they're not like totally straight with each other? Kind of weird thing. I don't know. The fit and finish seems a little off. So little things like that bug me. I don't know if they bug you, but I'm all about aesthetics and just I care that a company put in the time and effort to really produce a fine finished product. I do feel DJI kind of has the upper hand in this department, even though they give you this dorky little case to put stuff in. As far as the main case goes, in comparison, I much prefer the DJIs. It just feels more solid. The look of it's better, and again, like we talked about, the function of it. The other thing too, which we haven't touched on, is the screens themselves. So on the receiver, let's go ahead and pull this out and let it fire up. So on the receiver of the Rode system, we have a regular LCD panel, whereas on the DJIs, we have an OLED panel. So when you're doing outside shots, you're going to have a much easier time seeing the DJI screen. Whether or not that's important to you, I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there anyways. Here indoors and stuff though, they both look about the same. I don't really notice a difference. So if you're doing indoor shots and stuff, I wouldn't even worry about it. So the other thing too is let's go ahead and grab one of these transmitters out for each of them. All right, so we're going to take a look at these real quick. You see here on the DJI, we have a nice, let me get it up close and stuff. It's just a nice matte finish. You know, it's very unobtrusive, low profile. I know most of you have probably already seen these devices out in the wild for a long time. They've been out for over a year now. But just a very low, minimal footprint to these. You have the little magnet that's on the back. This can stay on while it goes in the charging case, which is really cool. Then you just clip, you know, just like any other wireless system, just like that. On the Rode setup here, it's a lot wider, you know, a little bit shorter though. Let me get it to where there's not black in the background. I know that's throwing it off. Here, let's move this stuff out of the way. All right, cool. So it's a little bit wider, not quite as tall. The thing I don't like about the Rode though, it has a real glossy finish, and I don't know how well that's going to show up here on camera. But when you're outdoors and stuff, you will definitely notice the reflection bouncing off of it. The weight, I was really surprised at how similar these are. So if we grab the transmitter for the DJI setup, let's throw that on the scale. We're looking at 33 grams. And if we grab the transmitter for the Rode system, we're looking at 35. I swore this showed 34 before on the DJI. 33. So it looks like about a 2-gram difference is all on the receivers, even though the Rode, the transmitters. Even though the Rode transmitter is, you know, it's significantly bigger. One other thing too is I see a lot of comments about people saying, well, you can't fit anything in the DJI case, and in the Rode case, you can fit a lot of the accessories in the main one if you don't want to use the accessories case. That is not true. That is not true at all. So if we drop the transmitter in there real quick and we push this down, this top part basically presses on these top areas here. So what I'm getting at is if you put some cords in here up top, you run the risk of actually breaking that USB connection off right there. Because remember, it's connecting right to a USB port directly down in there. You're going to run the risk of breaking one of these ports. So I strongly suggest you don't put anything in this case other than what it's intended for, which is the 2 transmitters and the receiver. Don't put your lab in here. It's not going to fit. Don't put the dead cats in here unless you really want them dead. I mean, seriously. So I don't know why people are saying that. I think maybe some folks don't have the product and they're making it sound like they do. But I'm telling you, as someone that owns it, don't put anything else in this case. Treat it just like the DJI case. The thing is, with the Rode setup, you get a lot more. The Lav 2 mic is really nice. We're going to hear it in the audio test. It's legit. I'd say it's actually not too much different than this, which is great. But then again, you're not taking a hit when you're using this Lav mic at all. The audio is just as good as the built-in mics that are on the Rode transmitter. And with the DJI, I've never felt the need to use a lav mic because this is so small and so unobtrusive that I just clip it to my shirt and I kind of forget that it's even on. I mean, as far as the look and feel of it, I guess it's kind of a toss-up in that you get more stuff with the Rode setup, but I do prefer the premium feel and the build quality of the case. I mean, you pocket everything in your hand right here. It just feels a lot more substantial. So I'm going to give a slight nod to the DJI setup in this area. All right, let's go ahead and head outside real quick and let's do a range test with both of these. All right, let's go ahead and do a quick range test. I'm only on an acre here. So I've got the DJI on the bottom, Rode on the top. The Rode wireless receivers hooked up to my Canon M50. I fly my drones through there, just have a little fun with it. I've got my back towards both of them on purpose. We'll kind of move around and stuff. Maybe I'll go out of view a little bit. We're gonna go behind that shed too. So I've got the Rode hooked up to the Canon M50. The DJI, since you don't have to use a USB-C cable, you can just plug it right to the phone. I have that hooked up to my S23 Ultra. So we're doing both at the same time. They might interfere with each other because they're both sitting right next to each other. I'll try to show a shot of them. All right, so we're gonna go out here to the end. Just kind of walk around. Just kind of walk in different directions, get at different angles to the receivers. All right, facing you guys, switching back around. We're gonna go over here by this shed. That's a metal shed. There's a bunch of stuff in it too. Storing a bunch of crap in there, so that might cause some interference as we come up around that. All right, again, both are recording at the same time. I'm checking on them. I'm looking down at my shirt. Both look good. They both have nice bright status indicator lights on them. It's really nice for outdoors. I will say though, like, okay, we're going around this shed now. I'm not sure how this is gonna sound. I'm kind of moving around. I'm gonna do a 360 right now. So my back's against the shed. Now I'm coming around towards it. Now I'm walking back towards you guys. I have a feeling they both did pretty good. This isn't that long a range, 300-400 feet. You know, what are they rated for? 600 or 800, something like that. There's my Starlink, probably out of distance. All right, we're just coming back here. Go by this tree. Maybe I'll go backwards by this tree, see if that's cutting out at all. A little bit of road traffic from the avenue. Not sure if it's getting picked up on either one of them. All right, we're coming back here. So as a YouTube content creator, I put out both long form videos and shorts. And this is where the DJI system comes into play. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you how easy this is. All right, so for YouTube shorts, it's really nice. All I do is I grab my DJI setup here, pull out the receiver. I already have the mount on for my phone, all right? So now I just grab the S23 Ultra here. We're gonna fire up the camera app. I'm gonna switch over to video mode. We're gonna grab the receiver. We're gonna plug it into here. Another cool thing before we get started, DJI does have a one-button press that allows you to lock the screen here, so it prevents accidental touches, as you can see here. I know that's a concern for a lot of you, and a lot of people prefer the button touches because they're afraid of the touch screen. You have the option to disable it. I leave it disabled. So I don't feel like that's a win on the Rode side. I actually prefer the DJI. I forgot to mention that in the first part, is I do like this touch screen better than the button presses. I don't even have these memorized yet. So we have this hooked up. Just doing a quick test for YouTube short. I guess a YouTube short should actually be recorded this way, right? Because we don't want landscape, we want portrait. All right, let's go ahead and stop recording. Disconnect the receiver. And unmute. I guess a YouTube short should actually be recorded this way, right? Because we don't want perfect audio. I'm done. All right, I'm already done. That's already done. That's what I mean. That's what's awesome about this DJI setup. So let me put this back in. Now let's do the same thing with Rode, all right? So we got the Rode set up. Let's go ahead and get our receiver out. All right, cool, we got that. Now what do I need? We need more stuff. We've got to go into this kit here. All right, I know I'm making it seem like a big deal, but it kind of is because you got to get everything out. All right, let's get this going. All right, let's get this plugged into here. All right, we're gonna get this plugged into the phone. After we get it turned on, just some more steps. Let's go ahead and go back to the camera app real quick. I want to do this in real time just so you see what it's like. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. Okay, looks like we're good there. Let's go ahead and shoot a video and hopefully it works. You know, the thing is with the Rode is like, now that I have this set up, what am I supposed to do with this while I'm recording? Like make a 3D printed mount or something. Let's go ahead and record real quick. All right, just doing a test of the Rode system here versus the DJI. All right, just doing a quick test. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Let's go back here. Let's play our footage of the Rode system here versus the DJI. All right, just doing a quick test. All right, cool. So it worked just fine. The audio sounds just as good. We'll go ahead and put this cable away. Let's get this stored back here. And we're almost done with the Rode setup. Now keep in mind, that's if you're not using the lav mic. So if you aren't wanting to put this on your shirt or don't have anywhere for the receiver, since it's a little bit, not the receiver, the transmitter, because it's a little bit bigger than the DJI one, you're also going to have to hook up the lav mic, which, you know, this has a full coupler on it instead of just the quick release. So something to keep in mind. So we're finally done now using the Rode setup to do a YouTube short. This is my main reason why I am keeping the DJI setup, because see what I mean here? This stuff kind of gets a little old. You have to find the right orientation. Where is it at? Here we go. This is the receiver. There we go. I finally got it. All right, we're done with the Rode setup now. So when I do YouTube shorts, I like to crank out 2 or 3 of these at a time. I know many content creators like to do, you know, 10 shorts in a day. And if you're doing a bunch of YouTube shorts, that's where this comes into play. That's where these DJI mics just kick the Rode's bike's butt. I mean, they really do. I like them a lot more for doing YouTube shorts. You see how quick and easy that was? The audio sounds great. So since we're talking about audio, let's go ahead and dip into the audio comparison for these devices. This is a test of the DJI wireless mics. This is a camera recording from the Canon M50, so this is a 24-bit audio. Now some silence to hear the noise floor. This is an audio test of the Rode Wireless Pro. We have the Rode Wireless Pro receiver connected to my Canon M50. Now let's test the noise floor with some silence. This is a test of the DJI wireless mics. The DJI wireless receiver is connected to my Canon M50. Now some silence to test the noise floor. This is an audio test of the Rode Wireless Pro. We have the Rode Wireless Pro receiver connected to my Canon M50. Now let's test the noise floor with some silence. This is a test of the DJI wireless mic, but this time we have the Rode Lav 2 connected to it and are using it. Now some silence to test the noise floor. This is a test of the Rode Wireless Pro, but with the included Lav 2 mic connected. This is the internal 32-bit float recording. Now some silence to hear the noise floor. All right, that wraps up the audio comparison. So here's my take on it. I feel like the Rode system has a little bit more of a natural sound, a little more bass heavy. The highs are kind of rolled back a little bit. And I also feel like, especially for the internal 32-bit float recording, I feel like it has better analog to digital converters in it, because I feel like the noise floor is a little bit lower, which I know that too comes with 32-bit, but I also noticed that on the receiver type recording as well. I also noticed that it just handles any type of clipping better across the board. And what I mean is, I'm talking about the gain assist functionality, which was introduced with the Rode Wireless Me. That's here in the Pro model as well. It does a really great job of preventing clipping on the receiver end, as well as a 32-bit float on the transmitter end, right? So pretty much any worries about clipping go by the wayside with the Rode system. With the DJI setup, I feel like it sounds a little bit more digital, just a tad. And do keep in mind, I feel like these are very similar. Like, you're not really getting too much better from one to the other. Very similar. The DJI, I feel like I can hear a little bit more highs. Again, that's kind of negated though a little bit if you use the dead cat, you know, the wind protector thing. That'll cut off some of the highs a little bit. But I feel like the bass response, the lower end, really isn't there on the DJIs. A little bit more muted in that department. But again, both of these can be rectified in your editor. Like, I used DaVinci Resolve. You just EQ them and it's not a big deal. You can get them both sounding pretty similar. So the audio comparison, I really don't think there's that big a difference if clipping isn't an issue for you. You know, it comes down to whether or not you have any clipping issues, and if that's an issue for you. If you're going to be micing up talent, or if you're the type of YouTube creator that likes to get loud, like I'm not, what you see is what you get right here on this channel. This is my talking voice, so clipping's not really a thing for me, so to speak, but it might be for you, in which case the Rode is definitely going to give you a better result. You're going to have a better end result with the Rode system. No ands, ifs, or buts about it, for sure. But if clipping's not an issue for you at all, I think they're both really comparable. They both sound great. I mean, you've been hearing the audio from both of them for this entire video, and I think they both sound magnificent. You know, they both sound incredible. So you kind of pick your poison here. You know, a little bit more natural and clean on the Rode side, a little bit more highs on the DJI one. Sounds a little bit more digital, especially on the receiver recording. I don't really care for the receiver recording on the DJI setup that much. I tend to use the built-in transmitter recording. As far as like working with audio, so one thing I haven't touched on is timecode, and that's because I just figured out how to do it in DaVinci Resolve earlier today. So I don't feel like I'm well-versed enough to really talk about it in a video yet. But I will say I'm looking forward to using it to auto-sync up my transmitter recordings with the recording that gets put on the receiver, right? So I am looking forward to trying it out, but I can't really articulate on it right now. But I will say the 32-bit float is bomb. I like it a lot. It's my first time using 32-bit float, and I've pushed it to its limits by just blasting into this thing. Like here, I'll go ahead and do it right now real quick. Testing, 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 testing! All right, so the DJI mic right there is probably going to clip out, even though I do have it a little bit lower on my shirt. Whereas the Rode, I'll be able to drop that down in the editor, and it's not going to be a problem at all. Not at all. So let's go ahead and wrap up with a few questions that I think you might have as a content creator. So the first one I have is, if I already have the DJI mic, should I upgrade to the Rode? So here's my take on that. If you're primarily doing YouTube shorts, no, don't do it. Keep your DJI. You'll be making a downgrade. Don't do it. It's too much of a hassle to sit there and mess with all this junk every time you have to record a short. Because keep in mind, with the DJI setup, you can have any one of these adapters connected to the receiver and it still goes right back into the charging port. That's a huge time saver right there. That part right there is just a huge time saver. And it may not seem like a big deal to you because you're like thinking, well, all he did was hook up a USB-C cable. How big a deal is that? It's a big deal for creators that are putting out 5 to 10 shorts a day. It is a big deal because you want to go about it as fast as possible. You just want to get the content out there. You know, a lot of my shorts ideas they come to mind and I want to record it the instant I thought about it. You know, I want to get the stuff out there. So anything that like can shorten up my workflow, I'm all for it. So for YouTube shorts, DJI all the way. But if you're primarily doing long form videos, I gotta be honest with you, I would probably just wait and hold off. I'd wait to see what DJI answers with, right? Because we know it's not gonna be too long before they come out with another version. But keep in mind that it's not all about 32-bit float. It's not all about timecode. It's about the internal, the digital audio, or I should say the analog to digital converters that are built into these machines or these devices. And it's also about the microphones that they're using, like the Lav 2 mic and the built-in mic on the transmitter. Right now, I think the Rode has the upper hand. The mics are a little bit better than what's on the DJI. So when DJI does answer with their new version of this, they can't just bring us 32-bit float and they can't just bring us timecode. They also need to improve the audio. They need to improve the mics a little bit. So it's really tough for me to say, should you hold off for the DJIs, not knowing whether or not they're going to improve the mics on them? Because you already know they're going to give you 32-bit float. You already know they're going to have timecode. DJI knows how to do it. So if you're actually already using the DJI setup and you're pretty happy with it, and maybe right now you're just a little bit jealous because of all the hype train, I'd personally hold off. I'd hold off and wait to see what DJI answers with. The audio difference just isn't that big enough of a difference. I think the only thing that I would take into consideration is clipping, and how big of an issue that has been for you. And if you're seeing that being an issue for you in the future, you will definitely have much better luck with the Rode setup when it comes to clipping. If you don't have either one of these devices and you're looking to get either one, which one should you get? If you're primarily doing YouTube shorts, again, the DJI Mic set. Otherwise, for every other situation, I would probably go with the Rode setup. That's because they're pretty much tit for tat in all other aspects, except you're getting the 32-bit float recording and you're getting the time code. Another question you may have is which one of these are the easiest to work with overall? So all in all, I would say that the DJI setup's a little bit easier, and a lot of it is because of something we haven't talked about yet, and that is because with the Rode system, you have to use the Rode Central app to do a lot of the management of the devices, where on the DJI setup, you do everything on screen. And the other part I like about the DJI setup, though, that the Rode I don't know why they just don't allow this, is that not only can you copy and paste directly off the transmitters, but you can also manage your files on the transmitter, meaning I can wipe out all the files, I can delete 2 or 3 of them and leave 4 or 5 others. On the Rode setup, once you plug into at least on a Windows PC, I don't know about on a Mac, but on a Windows PC, when you have these plugged in, you can only manage the files through the Rode Central app, except for one thing. You can copy the files from, just a regular drive on your computer. It'll map to a new drive for it. You can copy the 32-bit float off of the transmitters, but that's it. You can't manage the files on the device. You can't delete them or anything like that. You can only copy them to a local folder that you want to work with. And if you want to delete all the files, you actually have to go into the Rode Central app, and you only have the ability to delete all the files on the transmitter at once. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, actually. It kind of ticks me off because there's a lot of times I want to work with things on a project level and keep them on a project level on my transmitter. And with the DJI setup, what's so flippin' awesome is that when I'm done recording, I can go right on the transmitter one and I can create a new folder on the transmitter, which you can't do here. You can't create folders or do any of that kind of stuff. The files are there and you can only pull them off, copy them off. Here on the DJI one, I can create a project folder right on the transmitter, dump those files in there, and start recording the next part of the project. So then I can go back and just pull off folders instead of trying to figure out which individual files they are. So as far as the workflow goes, and especially considering I can leave all the adapters that I want to use at any particular time connected to the receiver on the DJI setup, I've got to give the workflow nod to the DJI setup, for sure. There's just less things to deal with, less to fuss with, and the file management is much easier. So, to wrap this up, if I can only get one of these 2 systems, because, I'm not returning the DJIs, I'm going to keep them for the YouTube shorts, which one of these 2 would I have in my arsenal? At the end of the day, I would probably go with the Rode Wireless Pros, just because of the slightly superior audio quality and for the peace of mind with clipping. That's it. There's nothing else about it that I really like that much more. I could do without timecode. As a small content creator, I've never had a problem like syncing up audio. It only takes me a couple seconds. You might have more complex projects than me, and it might be a big deal, but for me personally, syncing up audio has never been a concern. Minus the timecode section, that part of it, they're really kind of the same devices, to be honest, other than just a little bit difference in audio and the fact that the DJIs is a lot more convenient when like working YouTube shorts, or just working with other cameras besides a main camera. You know, your iPhone, my Galaxy S23 Ultra, if you want to hook it up to like an Osmo or something like that. Any of those types of things, you're going to have a much easier time with the DJI setup. A couple things is with the DJIs, I know a lot of people talk about there being transmitter or interference when using lav mics. I personally haven't experienced that. I've tried it out with the Lav 2 and it sounds great. But then again, keep in mind my DJI unit is really new. I've only had this for a month, so they may have been improving on it behind the scenes and just not letting folks know. I don't know if there's been like a hardware improvement, but I personally haven't experienced the interference issue. And as far as recording goes, one thing I want to point out too is I noticed the overall recording level, no matter what you set your gain to on the DJIs, no matter what gain settings you use on the road audio is a little bit louder. I'm talking prior to normalizing. And I don't know why that is. I can orientate the transmitters on my body in whatever position, it doesn't matter. You just have a little bit more output on the roadside. I don't know what else to really talk about. If you have any questions or comments about either one of these systems, I love chatting down in the comments section. So that's where a lot of the legwork happens, is down in the comments. So feel free to drop them. I'll be happy to answer them for you. I love talking with you guys. Kind of a weird video for me. This is not a normal video, so sorry if it seems a little out of sorts. As always, thanks for watching.